What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the SchuZ Show. Hope you guys are having a blessed Tuesday. I hope you guys are having a great day, as I said. But today's show is not going to feature any guests. I will be back live tomorrow, in which there will be guests. Can make sure we have audio real quick. We're good to go. So, with that being said, though, there will be no guests on today's show. It's just going to be straight boxing news. And today, or at least I should say in the past 24 hours, we have gotten a lot of fight announcements, fight orders, so on and so forth. I'm going to break it all down for you guys because we got cards getting announced, all kinds of stuff. Pretty much today's show is going to be revolving around fight announcements. But as always, if you guys have any comments, questions, topics that you guys want me to address on today's show, hit it up in the chat. I'll make sure to address it. Your comment will pop up on the screen and we get after it. So that's what we got in store for today's show. But before I go any further, there is one non-fight related or announcement topic that I want to get into. And it's a hypothetical question, all right? And I'll be honest, let me clarify this before I go any further. The odds of this fight going down are slim to none for various reasons. I just don't see it happening anytime in the near future or in the present times. And so what might I be saying? Well, let me say this. As I said, this is going to be a very hypothetical idea. Let me throw this fight option out there on the table for you guys. When I look at all the fights you could possibly make in boxing today, lots of big fights, there is one that has always been on the back of my mind, and now, I must be honest, I have to imagine that it would be one of the top 3 to 6 or 7 fights you could possibly make in boxing right now. As I said, it's very unlikely that it occurs, but it is possible in terms of weight classes and those type of things. What am I referring to? It is none other than Jaron Boots Ennis and Bud Crawford squaring off in the ring at either 154 or 160. You might ask me, why would this fight even want to be taking place? Well, let me make it very clear. First and foremost, if Terrence Bud Crawford and Boots Ennis were to fight each other in the ring, I'm going to give the edge to Boots Ennis. I'm going to give the edge to Terrence Bud Crawford. Very simple. Terrence Bud Crawford has proven himself that he is one of, if not the best fighter of this entire generation. He's gone up to 168. He's done his job there. I think he's going to go to 160. He's going to do his job there. I don't think Boots Ennis would beat Bud Crawford. However, in a hypothetical world, a possible matchup between Jaron Boots Ennis and Terrence Bud Crawford would do massive numbers, especially stateside in the United States of America. These are two of the most talented, gifted fighters that we have in American boxing today. Both guys have big names that are rapidly growing. Both guys can attract some form of star power. Now, not tier 1 yet, but they're both good enough, big enough names. And these two guys would have one heck of a showdown, and specifically in terms of a skill set. For those of us that love true boxing skills, that love the ability for switch hitting, like love the ability for these different aspects, this would be a fight right up everybody's alley. It would be very entertaining because both guys have knockout power as well, but we're looking at two of the most skilled fighters in all the world. As I said in the beginning, though, don't get excited. This fight will not happen. I don't see it happening. It makes no sense for Terrence Bud Crawford. But the potential idea of it being a realistic fight from the standpoint of weight classes, it makes it a fight that I think all boxing fans would greatly appreciate if it were to come true. Could it happen at 160 in a year or two? I don't know how long Bud Crawford is going to remain fighting. But this is just a hypothetical option that Terrence Bud Crawford, Jaron Boots Ennis would be one heck of an intriguing fight to make. As I said a little bit ago, what would be my prediction, though? Who would I possibly give the favorite to if this fight were to hypothetically go down? Let me make it very clear. Terrence Bud Crawford would beat Jaron Boots Ennis. And I like Jaron Boots Ennis. But Terrence Bud Crawford is that guy. When we talk about the top fighters of this generation, you can put him right up on in there alongside Usyk Inoue in that top tier. The face of this generation, Terrence Bud Crawford, belongs firmly on that list. As for everybody else, obviously there's a lot of great fighters. Jaron Boots Ennis had a chance to be that for this next generation, but if we were to fight today, or they were to fight today, I am going to give the edge to none other than Terrence Bud Crawford. It is what it is, but I would love to see that fight happen in a hypothetical world. All right, so as we were discussing, though, lots of fights got announced within the past 24 hours. I'm going to break them down for you guys one by one because we got a lot. Number one, the WBA has now officially ordered featherweight champion Nick Ball to defend his title against the mandatory challenger Brandon Figueroa next. The pair have until November 12th to reach a deal or purse bids will be called. All right, interesting. I'm just gonna keep it 100 with you guys right now. Let me spit out some facts right now. Nick Ball's reign And I don't like doing this because I like Nick Ball a lot. I really do love the way his fight style is. I love his personality. I think Nick Ball is great for boxing. I love watching him fight. That being said, Nick Ball has one of the most skeptical and sketchy title defenses that we have seen in recent memory. This man has called up guy after guy from another weight class moving up, and he's fought them somehow, and he's done his job in the ring, but none of them have been guys that's already at 126. And here, along whole behold, we have a man in Brandon Figueroa. Big name, obviously well past his prime, but he's the man now that we're going to have sliding right up into the slot to get a world title shot after he just got beat in a little bit ago in his last fight. And he now gets a world title shot against Nick Ball. This is not a challenge for Nick Ball. I can give you guys the insight right now. Nick Ball is winning that fight. I'll never give 100% odds for anybody because boxing and anything can happen. But let me make that 99.9999999% chance that Nick Ball will walk away with a win against Brandon Figueroa. This is not a competitive fight. And I don't think anybody that you want to ask out there that what fight would they like to see Nick Ball make, I don't think anybody would suggest the idea that they want Nick Ball to fight Brandon Figueroa. Brandon Figueroa had a good career. He had a good run. He is no longer in his prime, far removed from it, in fact, and I just don't think this is going to be a good fight. Part 2 to this. There is a man who currently holds the interim WBA title in Mirko Coelho. And for some reason, the WBA is going to go and take the bigger name and just leap right over Mirko and go give him this fight for Brandon Figueroa. That's messed up. Now, I get it. Boxing is a business. The WBA works like a business. But when you are the WBA, how do you have an interim world champion in Mirko Coelho who has earned that spot? He holds that belt, and you're going to take the number 1 challenger, Brandon Figueroa, and just jump the interim champion to go get a shot against Nick Ball. I don't like that. I'm not a fan of that. And in fact, while Brandon Figueroa will sell better, he's a much bigger name. I get all that. Who would be a better fight? Mirko Coelho. Without a shadow of a doubt, I would rather see him fight Nick Ball than Brandon Figueroa fight Nick Ball. I don't like this fight whatsoever. And as I said a little bit ago, I like Nick Ball. I don't want to disrespect the guy. I think his attitude, his culture, his character, everything about him, the way his fight style, everything about Nick Ball, I appreciate and I love watching him fight. But I'm sick and tired of watching him fight guys that we know he's going to beat. I'm sick and tired of watching him fight guys that are not competitive. 126 is a wide open weight class. Go unify or go fight a top contender. I understand that Nick Ball in the back of his mind is probably just waiting for that payday from Inoue, but at some point in time, we don't know when he's going to make that jump. It might not happen until the second half of next year. Are we just going to keep fighting these dudes that we don't want to watch him fight over and over again? Because his resume is very skeptical. And I think Nick Ball could do great things at 126. But if he keeps fighting these guys, this resume is going to look more and more skeptical. And when he beats Brandon Figueroa, I'm going to have to come right back up here and say this. It was an entertaining fight. He did his job. But guess what? What does it prove? Brandon Figueroa is nowhere near his prime self. I don't like it. I don't like it whatsoever. But yes, the WBA is going to have that fight scheduled next. It's going to be ordered for the WBA Featherweight Championship of the World. The pair have until November 12th to reach that deal. Another fight. Now, this fight was already previously announced, but everything came crashing down back when we had the Sebastian Fundora and Keith Thurman fight get canceled, or postponed, I should say. And here it is. Actually, this one was not part of this card, but Janibek and Erislandy Lara have agreed to a middleweight title unification on December 6th in San Antonio, Texas. Massive. And I like this. I talked about when the rumors were coming out. I love this fight. I've been saying it for 6 months now. 160 needs to unify. It's not a good weight class, not a lot of depth. Those champions have to unify, and they did just that. This will be a phenomenal fight. However, let me bring up one specific point I want to talk about right now. Throughout the past 5 or 6 months, since these rumors of the Damas and Janibek fight have been going down, we've all been wondering, who is at fault for why this fight's not happening? When you look at it from a fan perspective and we look at X, Janibek and Adamas have been going back and forth over and over and over and over again as to who's at fault for this fight not getting made. None of us had the answer. We all made assumptions. But what I can confidently say now today is that the problem all along has been that Carlos Adames did not want to fight Janibek. It's obvious. Because as soon as the Carlos Adames fight talks broke down, Janibek goes immediately after another champion and is now going to officially unify his 160-pound weight class belts for the IBF and WBO against Erislandy Lara. That's not a ducking man if you ask me. This is a man that actually wants to do the job that every single fan of boxing wants to see 160 guys do. He's doing his job. So hats off to him. Much respect to Janibek. And as for Carlos Adames, what are you going to do now? I've always given him the one aspect of saying, you know what? I get it. If he doesn't want to work with Turki Al-Sheikh anymore because of the Hamzah Sheeraz fight, I can understand that. This is not a Turki Al-Sheikh card, though. This is December 6th PBC card going down in San Antonio. Not a Turki Al-Sheikh card. No excuse whatsoever. Carlos Adames needs to get himself figured out because guess what? After December 6th comes to a conclusion, we will have 3 of the belts unified at 160. You're the lone man out there. You're going to have to fight that winner, or you have to go fight a guy like Terrence Bud Crawford. Either way, a big fight must come soon for Carlos Adames, and he needs to wake up to that. Another news, and this one excites me. I know you guys probably heard my rant a little bit ago about this fight needing to happen. It is back on. O'Shaquie Foster will be fighting Stephen Fulton for the WBC Super Featherweight title fight. It is being rescheduled for that same card, December 6th in San Antonio. Massive, massive fight. And remember, these are all going to be on the undercard of Isaac Pitbull Cruz and Lamont Roach. So that undercard will be stacked. Jesus Ramos, Shane Mosley should also be on that card as well. O'Shaquie Foster and Stephen Fulton. This is one of the best fights you can make right now in American boxing. I've been talking about how excited I am for this fight to happen, but time and again, it has been postponed, rescheduled, whether it be because of Tank Davis and Lamont Roach, it be because of Fundora, Keith Thurman, and finally, and I hope, fingers crossed, we finally get to see this fight go down on December 6th. I hope these guys don't have to get postponed again. It's been ridiculous for them. Let this fight get on. I'm excited for that one. Speaking of, Sebastian Fundora's WBC welterweight title defense versus Keith Thurman, that's expected to land on Manny Pacquiao's undercard in late January. Also, good news there, but I have to raise a little bit of skepticism real quickly. There was some skepticism, I should say, questioning, rumors, theories, whatever you want to call it, that was Sebastian Fundora actually hurt? I don't know, but there are questions in that regard. Obviously, he has the hand injury, but what I will ask you is this. We all looked at that pay-per-view card, and we all knew people were not going to buy that pay-per-view card. Not many boxing fans want to watch Fundora versus Thurman as a pay-per-view. It is what it is. It's a good, solid fight, fun fight, not a pay-per-view fight. And PBC wanted to make that fight pay-per-view, and obviously, I have to imagine, most people were not going out there trying to buy that fight. Makes plenty of sense. I wouldn't have paid for that fight, but that is the situation at hand. Now it's being rescheduled. It's probably going to be the co-main event for Manny Pacquiao's card, which Manny Pacquiao certainly is a pay-per-view headliner, and it makes more sense. So we'll see what happens there, but that fight is back on. The WBC belt will be on the line in January on Manny Pacquiao's undercard. Here's another interesting PBC fellow fighter here. WBA orders Rolly versus GIYASOV. The WBA has ordered welterweight champion Rolando Rolly Romero to defend his title against the mandatory challenger Shakram GIYASOV next. The parties have until November 13th to reach a deal, or purse bids will be called. Here's the interesting story. If I were to put money down on this fight happening or not, I'm hammering everything I've got on this fight not happening. Here is why. Rolly Romero has what many boxing fans refer to as Rolly privileges. What am I referring to? Well, Rolly gets some special privileges. To begin with, how the heck does he have a 147-pound world champion right now? Because the WBA just randomly threw that belt on the line at the time for the interim, or the regular, with Ryan Garcia. Nobody understood why. It made no sense, but the WBA handed him that situation. It was intended for Ryan Garcia, but guess who ended up winning it? Rolly Romero. Now he's the world champion for the WBA. Things have always just kind of played into the hand of Rolly Romero. He has special privileges in boxing. He sells well, good high character guy, so on and so forth. Boxing fans love him. And because of that, let's be honest. How many people want to go out there and watch Rolly Romero fight GIYASOV? Rolly Romero is in talks to fight Manny Pacquiao. He could go fight a guy Mario Barrios. There are lots of big names, rematch with Ryan Garcia. Lots of big names are on the table for Rolly Romero. He's not going to fight a guy like GIYASOV. So what happens in this situation? Well, I just don't see him taking that fight. What I do see happening is them paying the man, GIYASOV, to step aside to some extent. And I get it. GIYASOV has already said he's not going to do that. GIYASOV has already come out and made it very, very clear that he wants to fight for world champion. He's done the step asides before. He doesn't want to do that. But what if he gets paid a massive amount of money? He fights a man for the interim on the Pacquiao versus Rolly Romero undercard. That makes a lot more sense. I think that's what we're going to see him end up doing, becoming the interim, and Rolly Romero one day will maybe vacate or something will happen, and GIYASOV fights that man. I just don't see a path or way in which Rolly Romero will actually fight GIYASOV. Callum Simpson has been ordered has been ordered to defend his EBU Super Middleweight title against Hamzah Sheeraz. The deadline for negotiations is 28th of October. If no deal is reached by this point, the fight will go to purse bids. Now, a little bit shocked right there. Hamzah Sheeraz has lots of big fights open to him. I didn't think he'd go back to the domestic, or I should say continental weight class of champions, but it appears he might be doing so. Hamzah Sheeraz, in my opinion, has graduated to the world stage. I think he's firmly in that position. But it appears now that both Callum Simpson and Hamzah Sheeraz can make a fight happen. I think Hamzah Sheeraz would be the favorite in this fight, but I do like Callum Smith. I know he's a very controversial fighter in the sense of how he fights. Some people like him, some people don't. I personally do think he's a solid fighter, and I could see him pulling off this upset here. But this will actually be going into negotiations on the 28th of October. I would love to see this fight happen. I think if you're Hamzah Sheeraz, stay active. You made a statement against Edgar Berlanga, and you now have the opportunity to go out there and fight a man in Callum Simpson, who is a very solid fighter. And yes, it is a threat, but if you're Hamzah Sheeraz, stay active, go make a statement, and maybe that propels you into world championship status. You also would then become the EBU Super Middleweight title holder. Matchroom's lineup has now been announced for December 6th in Monaco live on DAZN. Shabazz Massoud will be fighting Peter McGrail. Kona Walker will be fighting Pat McCormick. Beatriz Figueroa, Elif Noor Takan, Sean McComb versus Hugo Miklev, and Johnny Fisher will be making his return to the ring as well. Very fun card for Matchroom to wrap the year. Obviously, a lot of solid fights right there. Not a pay-per-view, not something that's going to be a massive seller, but a solid card from Monaco. Not against that whatsoever. Solid names, solid fights right there. Ben Whittaker will make his Matchroom debut against 19-1 Benjamin Gavazi for the WBC Super Light Heavyweight title on November 29th in Birmingham. Makes plenty of sense. I saw a lot of people bashing it, saying, this is not a good fight for Ben Whittaker. Why is he doing it? Let me read that final part for you. It's for the WBC Silver Light Heavyweight title. Right there. Remember, he's with a good promoter now. He's got Eddie Hearn behind him. He's made that contract. He's got the deal done. Eddie Hearn knows how to build fighters and get them in position. If you do this fight and you win the WBC Silver Light Heavyweight Championship, your name will be propelled likely into the top 5 of the WBC, meaning that Ben Whittaker would probably only be a fight or two out from a world championship shot. That's what happens when you're with a good promoter. Eddie Hearn knows how to work the phones, knows how to work the deals, and he got him in a great position. Makes plenty of sense. I have no issues with it whatsoever. I like this idea right here. And last but not least on today's show, unless I see any more comments come through, which I do not currently see, is this bit of news right here. Jeamie Tshikeva is expected to be ruled out of his fight with Frazer Clarke after suffering a rib injury during training, leaving Boxer/BBC Sports First Show on October 25th in doubt. Massive news right there. I've always said this. It felt weird having Joseph Parker, Fabio Wardley, and Jeamie Tshikeva, and Frazer Clarke fighting on the same exact day at the same time, roughly. Never was a fan of that. I thought they should be on separate weekends. However, let's just be honest. If you're Boxer Ben Shalom, you need things to go right. This is not a long-term contract. This is a one-year deal. He has to make sure that this contract gets uplifted and done. And if this fight does not come to fruition, BBC is not going to pick up this fight card. The undercard is absolutely abysmal. Atrocious. Every word you want to throw in there, it sucks. You need this main event. And if it's not going to happen, I've heard rumors that it could possibly be moved to November 29th. I don't know why, but they are going to try doing that on the same day as Ben Whittaker's return to the ring. Interesting there. But whatever it is, this is now the situation at hand. We'll give you guys updates if more news does come out. But yes, Jeamie Tshikeva versus Frazer Clarke is now in doubt after Jeamie Tshikeva suffered a rib injury. So that massive heavyweight showdown going down in the UK is now in doubt on October 25th. Breaking news that came out a little bit earlier, I should say. With that being said, I don't see any more comments in the comment section, so I'll be wrapping up tonight's show for you guys now. I hope you guys have a blessed rest of your guys' day. Enjoy the rest of your Tuesday. If you guys are tuning in Wednesday, I appreciate you guys for starting your day off with me. I will be back live tomorrow at about 12 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. I've got a guest on tomorrow's show as well, so stay tuned for that. You guys are not going to want to miss it. But I hope you guys have a blessed rest of your guys' day. May God bless you guys all. I will see you guys back live tomorrow. And with that being said, SchuZ out. God bless you guys.